It's like that coming out thing again. When am I going to tell them again?
I'm not someone who's ever wanted to have children.
But kids are forever, kids are my eyes.
I take a pill every single day, which means it's impossible to catch HIV from
On
me.
my Grindr profile, I was openly out, and I would get taunts, I would get discrimination, I would get stigma leveled my
You
way.
equals you. Therefore, not a problem. I was more surprised when it became a bit of a thing.
Hey, I'm Nathan. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm living with HIV.
Hi, I'm Clint. My pronouns are he, him, and I am living with HIV as well. And we are very, very, very beautiful friends. So how long have each of us been living with HIV?
So I was diagnosed in November 2014. So that's what, nearly 9 years ago?
Yeah.
So it's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute.
I was 3 months before my 29th birthday, 30th birthday, so I was 29.
We also don't need to say the years. Seems younger.
Oh no, I don't lie about my age, it's fine.
Who amongst us disclosed the HIV status first?
I think it was interesting, so because we met again when I came back from London, and I think it was after we'd had sex.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you've got it too. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think it was that moment when I was living out in the West,
Yeah.
and we caught up for that one time, and everything was good, and then we reconnected, and then we had the conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
So we didn't disclose on the first time,
No.
and it just kind of came out.
Yeah. How did each of us react when the other disclosed their HIV status to one another?
A sense of relief, a sense of understanding. We already had a great connection prior, that we were able to see, or I was able to see you in a slightly more open light, and I was slightly more able to understand where you're at, and the conversation changed to deep bond between us, and it was almost through 2 or 3 conversations.
Yeah.
It happened rapidly.
Yeah, it's amazing that connection it instantly built. It's like, oh, hang on, we were here in level of depth, like, and great, still always had great conversations.
Amazing, yeah.
But we suddenly could go here because it's
Yes.
like, freedom to talk, to explore, to navigate areas that I can't do with a lot of people. And there's an immediate understanding that there's not something I can say that would upset or frighten you, or, I don't need to explain to you that you equals you and that you are completely safe and that you don't have to worry or all that sort of stuff. Like there's no,
I think sometimes when you share, there's this reaction. It can be shock, it can be fear, it can be disappointment. They stand back. Sometimes when you share that you have HIV with people, there's a reaction. Whatever that reaction is, most of the time it's negative in some connotation. But I think when
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, what does that mean for you? Like when we're able to share it, we really know what it's like. I'm able to express things to you without having that shame associated with it, without having a sense of shame.
Agreed.
Did either of us hesitate in sharing our status with each other?
It's that interesting experience where if people don't ask, I assume they're either on PrEP or if they're positive themselves, because otherwise people you would think would ask. Not also the experience that happens in the gay world all the time. So because we'd already had a connection for so many years and because we'd already shared so many times together, I didn't hesitate. I don't know, maybe I did. Maybe, like, this is the thing that you realize when you start digging into the weeds of, your experience with HIV. And as fine as you think you are, as fine as you always, like, mentally, I can talk myself into being, I'm fine. I don't need to find my HIV community wrong. All these things that I didn't think I had to do. And so maybe there was a hesitation because I really enjoyed all the times we hung out. And so, yeah, I didn't knowingly hesitate to tell you, but quite frankly, there's often hesitation that is entrenched in the shame and the stigma of being HIV positive. So I don't know. I don't think I did.
On my Grindr profile, I was openly out, and I would get taunts, I would get discrimination, I would get stigma leveled my way. Did I hesitate because of those experiences? Yes, but did I actively hesitate? No.
Yeah.
I also think it's really important that people who are negative take ownership of their health.
Yes.
I take full ownership of my health,
Yep.
my safety, my mental health. I have agency of who I am and what goes into my body. And if somebody doesn't ask me, they need to have agency in their own health to be able to protect themselves.
12 years ago when I first got diagnosed, it was actually it was illegal to not disclose before you had sex. And I always had the problem with that. Like, I did disclose, and I still disclose to everyone. Disclosure for me has always been, if someone really has a problem with it, and I've had a few experiences over my time where afterwards they've found out and they've been super angry and go, that's wrong, you should have told me, da da da. And I'm like, well, why didn't you ask? If this is such a problem for you, then why didn't you ask? Why are you having unprotected sex with someone without asking a question that you have a really volatile reaction to? You know, it shouldn't be up to us only. Like, we're already doing our part, and so I will absolutely caveat that with, I take a pill every single day, which means it's impossible to catch HIV from me, which means that realistically that conversation is null and void because I know my status, I know my undetectable viral load, I am safe and you are safe from the virus from me. And the only thing you get really when you disclose it to someone who is uneducated is the need in an experience that is often not about an educational process. It is about sex and energy and fun, and sometimes you avoid that. So the hesitance comes from that.
Yeah. Like, for instance, I have experiences with men who are on PrEP who still say to me openly, they're on PrEP and they refuse to have sex with me because I have HIV. Yes. They're on PrEP, they're preventing HIV. I'm on medication and I get regularly tested. I have STI checks pretty regularly. I have most of my screens twice, if not 3 times a year. I'm really well managed by a leading practitioner in Victoria. And they still choose not to have sex with me because there is misinformation that they're doing everything in their power to prevent it. I'm doing everything in my power, but the stigma between us still exists because it's like, oh, but what if?
Yeah, no, agreed. And they're often the people as well that I get the most abuse from.
Yes.
Like, they're like, yeah, come on, let's do this. And they're like, it's all on.
Yeah.
Are you clean or are you dirty?
Like, do you know what I always answer that with?
Yeah, I showered.
Yes. Like, I was like, of course I had a shower this morning.
And what I should do is block, but I kind of enjoy the argument at that point. It's fun.
And it's also that the narrative of clean or dirty, it's like, I'm neither of those things.
Yeah.
Like, but what are we saying? Like, what are we actually sharing when someone says, are you clean or are you dirty? Does that mean that there's something intrinsically a part of me that is wrong, that is unclean, that is not natural?
Yes, but it's not HIV. Is it different disclosing your status to a sex partner over a friend? And how so?
In my experience, I shared it with all of my friends and all of my family and all of the people that kind of were in my life at the time that I was diagnosed, and I was very openly out. Now it's not a conversation that I typically have. Now, I guess in an intimate relationship, it's definitely a discussion that I have to have, especially if I'm dating someone. I personally prefer to have that conversation pretty early on to prevent the potential for rejection or the potential for education, and then the consequence of that relationship kind of fizzling out, which often it does for me. But I've also had beautiful times with partners where I've been like in the heat of the moment and I'm like, oh, we have to talk. Like we're ready to go. It's all going ahead. And I'm like, we need to talk because I don't want this to come out later on because I like the person that you are. In those times, I've been really privileged that those relationships have continued. But yeah, it's easier with friends, but it's more important with your partner, I think.
I found it interesting because, like, I find it quite easy to disclose to a sexual partner, in particular if it's not a relationship. Like, I find it like, it's like, I've done this a few times, you know, this old chestnut. But with friends, like, when I first was diagnosed, I had a really great support networks, but I didn't tell my family for 11 years. And I told my closest friends, and I told people that I needed to create a little cocoon and network around me. But, you know, I was in a very public job and I was really frightened of it coming out, and I was really nervous about telling it. So for me at the beginning, telling friends was the stakes were higher. Because if someone says no and they're a person that you're, you know, a sex partner, it doesn't change your life if that sex partner says no or if they disappear the next day. But when a friend disappears and it's a judgment call against something that you cannot change, it will not change. But if they change because of my HIV status, then that's a really hard moment to accept that someone has judged you based on something that you cannot change, based on something that, don't worry girl, we have put all the blame on ourselves over the course of the last 12 years. We have judged ourselves. No one, like, as much shame and stuff as comes from other people, no one will ever shame me as much as I've shamed myself for this disease. And when someone who you love can't handle it, that is the moment when I've had probably some of the hardest. Like, I will walk away from a sex partner and all that, but when someone you love just can't get it.
When you share, is there someone, you don't have to share their name, but is there an experience you had with someone that you felt that rejection?
I've had it weaponized against me in friendships and in a relationship that went really badly overseas. Like, he started weaponizing my HIV to my company, like started sending emails to my work telling them that I was diseased and horrible and that I shouldn't be the face of a natural brand and I shouldn't be all these things. So I've certainly had times where relationships have turned really sour because of my HIV. And as in those moments, it's like, you know, when you go, this is really, that's unfair. You know, that's a hard pill to swallow. Not like my daily pill, which makes it great for my life and all those things, but that really hurt.
At what point in a friendship do you think it's comfortable to share your HIV status? And are there any green flags to indicate that it's the right person? And are there red flags that suggest that it might not be the right person?
I think there are people that you don't have to tell, and I think that, you know, my personal experience is, at the beginning there was some horrible experiences with it, some quite violent experiences with it. So there is a safety factor to people when disclosing their status, in particular with sexual partners and things. Like, some people can become quite violent. It can be quite a risky situation because of fear, you know, and the big thing that surrounds ignorance is fear. And so if they don't know about HIV and you are feeling a sense of that there could be a risk to you, don't tell. Like, that's a big red flag.
I think a really good experience that I've had is by introducing other people's experiences. So talking about someone that's openly out or openly in the public eye, who shares their story, who shares their narrative, and include them in a conversation and potentially see how that person reacts to that conversation, and then you're able to test the waters. Because it's the worst thing. Let's say if you tested the waters and it's someone in the public eye and the first thing they say is, oh, that dirty they got, or whatever the narrative is. I'm sorry.
It's actually dirty Clint. Dirty Clint.
Whatever their response is to sharing that they have HIV is probably a really good indicator of how they are. You can then...
And the risk factors that might surround it.
Yes.
How do we support each other regarding our HIV statuses?
by sitting on a red couch in public talking about life and sharing, because we both believe that education, that the best way to uncover and overcome stigma is through knowledge and through sharing. And we're both storytellers, and we are both deeply passionate about our community, not just local, globally, around the world. There are lots of people that struggle and that couldn't do this. So I think that's how we talk about it, is by being advocates and champions to each other, and then we elevate each other to go to the next level.
The interesting thing is, I was about to say, oh, it doesn't matter what your status is. And that's an interesting thing, because I just argued with myself then, because it does matter. You know, I love when people, the intention behind when people say it doesn't matter, but the reality is it does. It matters to me every single day. It will matter to my partners. It will matter to my health long term. So I'm staying on top of it. So your status matters to me. I'm just completely in love with you in spite of it. And I don't care, and I never will. So you matter to me, and I'll always be there for you.
I love you.
Love you too.
Every week, every 2 weeks, I'd say we're in connection quite a lot.
And don't worry, I'm a boomer, so I'm not actually a boomer.